There'll now be a moment of silent prayer and meditation. May we be seated? Would like to welcome the minister, the department, as well as the guests of the minister who are here with us in the gallery. And to say to all of you, you are welcome. There are certain rules that apply to those of you who are in the gallery. While we welcome you as our guests, I also want to advise you that if there's something the minister says that really excites you and you want to clap your hands, please don't do so. You can just smile and nod, or any non-action that won't disturb the house. If you feel whatever he said, it's something that you don't like, you can't boo the minister or howl, but you'll just have to shake your head, as long as it is not disturbing the house. Members in their seats, time and again, they can do a bit of noise, but not to drown the speaker. You are all welcome. I'll now ask the secretary to read the first order.
Debate on vote number 15, Higher Education and Training Appropriation Bill.
Honorable Minister. It's too early, Honorable Minister.
House Chairperson, Cabinet colleagues, and Deputy Ministers who are here, especially our Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Mr. Mtutuz Manana, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training, Comrade Connie September, Honorable Members of Parliament, I nearly made a mistake, Honorable Chief Whip, otherwise I may lose my seat here, Velas, Director General and staff of the department, heads, all heads of our post-school institutions and organizations who are here, honored guests, including my special guests. There are too many to mention, but I would like to highlight in particular Bilentle, who was the top grade 6 student at my former primary school, Mtetomush. And Nosipo from my former high school, Georgetown High School, was the top grade 11 student last year. And the second year LLB student, Siwe Tel, who is also a broadcaster, including my wife, Pumelele, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. I rise to address this House in this year of O.R. Tambo, who was deeply passionate about education and understood that education is a key driver for development. Oliver Tambo was a maths and science teacher who firmly believed that a liberated South Africa would require a well-educated populace to govern the new democratic state. Despite the turbulence in our higher education system over the last 18 months, I'm pleased that 2017 has seen a relatively stable start. Let me thank all our institutions, including staff, students, and workers for their laudable efforts in this regard. We also deliver this budget vote shortly after the conclusion of the World Economic Forum for Africa, held on the 3rd of May in Durban, whose key theme was the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The Fourth Industrial Revolution refers to the pervasiveness of digital technologies that are fusing the physical, digital, and biological worlds and affecting everything about our existence, in particular economies and industries. This revolution is changing the way in which we live, in the way we live, we work, and relate to one another. This fourth industrial revolution presents both a big opportunity, but also at the same time a threat to African continental development. Whilst it is an opportunity to fast-track economic development, it can also be a platform for the further reproduction of unequal global economic development. Whilst engaging with this reality, we at the same time have to develop skills for the industrialization of the African continent, which forces us to ponder, therefore, on what kind of institutions do we require in our post-school system, and in particular, what kind of TVET colleges do we need? Key amongst the skills we need to produce are those that will enable people to be critical, agile, and adaptable to rapid technological changes. And these questions must be at the heart of our transformation agenda in higher education and training. Honorable Chair and honorable members, indeed a lot has been achieved since the establishment of our department in 2009, such as the establishment of 3 new universities, including a dedicated University of Health Sciences. We have also strengthened and incorporated the TVET colleges into the post-school education and training system, including migrating their staff into our department with relevant supporting legislation. We have also approved massive infrastructure developments across the system, as well as improved access, participation, and throughput rates. However, one of the biggest challenges for this 5th Parliament is the need to provide financial resources in order to build a vibrant TVET college sector capable of absorbing millions of our unemployed youth and provide much needed skills for our economy. In fact, failure to adequately resource our TVET colleges may as well be the single biggest undoing in growing and developing an inclusive economy in our country. It is also important to note that we still eagerly await the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into student funding that is also looking at the feasibility of fee-free higher education and training for the poor and the working class. I hope that Honorable Chair, honorable members from the EFF are listening carefully. It's free higher education and training for the poor and the working class, not for everybody. We look forward to the recommendations of that report, including government's response to it, and hoping that then we will come up with a lasting solution. As we await the final outcome, we are simultaneously finalizing the National Plan for Post-School Education and Training, which seeks to implement the NDP, our white paper, and we hope to finalize it by the end of this year. Since its inception as the Tertiary Education Fund for South Africa, TEFSA, in 1991, NSFAS has awarded, my apologies, I forgot to recognize the Deputy President. Ungixolele, Deputy President.
The time is going, Minister.
My apologies. Since its inception as the Tertiary Education Fund of South Africa in 1991, NSFAS has awarded about 72 billion rands in loans and bursaries. Despite the cynicism of our critics, more than 2 million students studying at South Africa's public universities and TVET colleges have been funded by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme just over the past 3 years. 2 million students. A total of 194,353 university students have thus far been supported in the 2017 academic year, with 78,413 covering first-time entrants and 115,940 returning students. Similarly, 332 TVET college students have already received support this year. NSFAS is one of the most significant success stories in the history of a democratic South Africa led by the African National Congress. We are also acutely aware of the administrative challenges facing NSFAS, and we are working together with the board to address these as a matter of urgency. I also wish to categorically state that there is absolutely no intention to privatize or hand over NSFAS to the banks. For as long as I am a minister in this portfolio, no such will happen. Contrary to some malicious rumors in this regard, I call upon, I need your protection, Chair. I call upon all stakeholders to engage meaningfully with the discussion document for funding the missing middle that has been released for public comment. While significant additional amounts of funding have been injected into NSFAS, there is still insufficient funding to support all students who require financial aid and who meet the requisite academic requirements at universities. We are also piloting a scheme for the missing middle, which is not yet a final product, and we invite all stakeholders to engage with this. We appreciate the contribution of the private sector in this pilot, which donated a total of 138 million rands, covering about 1,200 students, and they've committed to supporting these students until they finish, irrespective of whether government accepts this model or not. I want to reiterate that government remains committed to finding the resources to support students from poor, working class, and missing middle families in their quest to access higher education and training. As already mentioned, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, the TVET subsystem remains the cornerstone of our post-school education and training system. Over the last few years, we've started construction of 3 new TVET college campuses as part of a program of 12 new TVET college campuses. We've already opened one in Tabazimbi. We are opening the first ever post-school institution in Nkandla this year, as well as one in a place known as Bambanani, Kwamhlabuya Lingana. We have also made major strides in turning around these institutions. Developing a foundation program, for instance, for implementation in 2018-19, targeting 5,000 students, supporting 10 universities through a European Union grant to build capacity to train TVET college lecturers. Progress has also been made to reform the native qualifications into occupational qualifications, as well as a review of the National Certificate Vocational Policy has been undertaken. In the coming year, we intend to strengthen these colleges, including their governance structure, and we will also fix the dysfunction of the examination system and clear the certification backlog. Of the national certificate backlog of 821, that we inherited, only 84 remain unissued. And this will be cleared by June 2017. The backlog for the NATED course is also being addressed. And we want to eliminate all the backlogs as soon as possible. It is unfair for any student to write an exam and not get his or her results on time and not get certificated. One of the biggest interventions we intend to make this year is that of implementing a TVET connectivity project through the South African National Research Network, SANRAN. Through this project, all the 267 college campuses will operate on the same ICT network environment as universities. We are also piloting community colleges. We are doing this also on the back, Deputy Minister Enver Surti, of successes scored through the Karigude Literacy Program and other post-school interventions, which, by the way, have led to the decrease in percentage of the population above 20 years with no education from 19% in 1996 to 5% in 2015. Graduates from our higher education institutions reached 1.1 million for the period 2009 to 2015. In 2017-18, the priorities on piloting the concept of community colleges aimed at increasing access to those of our people who never finished school. We want to create a post-school education and training system that's not going to reject anyone who wants to acquire a skill or further his or her education, whether that person has gone to school or not. On university education, whilst access and funding remain important, we need to improve participation rate by black students. We need to build capacity comprehensively to transform the institutional culture and curriculum in line with the calls for decolonization of our universities. This requires us to produce a new kind of an academic. Cheers. It is for this reason that our department has approved and will implement what we call the University Capacity Development Program from the beginning of the 2018 academic year, which will prioritize historically disadvantaged universities. This program will allocate 900 million in the first year, increasing nominally in subsequent years to enable the implementation of capacity development activities in universities that are focused on student success, staff development, and curriculum transformation. This will include the recruitment and training of new academics that are indispensable in the transformation curricula of our universities. In order to address the paucity of black South African academics in our institutions, and here is the problem with the old ones, which manifests in the fact that 66% of all our university professors are still being white. I will be setting up a ministerial task team to investigate the obstacles into the production of black South African academics and how to address those. This task team will be chaired by the former Deputy Vice Chancellor of UNISA, Professor David Musoma. Other recent achievements in this regard include the following. We have invested 200 million rands in the Teaching and Learning Capacity Development Program through a partnership with the EU, a 20 million rand partnership with the United Kingdom's Royal Academy of Engineering on a program to strengthen engineering education in South Africa. We also have a partnership between the National Skills Fund and the National Research Foundation that has enabled the establishment of 6 research chairs focused on aspects of post-school education and training. We have also made substantial progress towards the development of the Central Application Service, and we have achieved some important advances here. A policy on the Central Application Service was published for public comment in 2016, followed by extensive consultation. This will be finalized this year and systems procured for testing in 2018-19. We have also committed to dealing decisively with the challenges faced by historically disadvantaged institutions and to ensure that all our universities are in a position to deliver high-quality education. To this end, we have established the Historically Disadvantaged Institutions Development Grant, whose overall purpose is to enable HDIs to develop themselves towards fully realizing their potential as universities. Funding of approximately 2.5 billion rand over a 5-year period has been earmarked for this program. After 5 years, the impact of the funding will be assessed. On infrastructure, one critical element of ensuring access to quality higher education and training and success in the system is investment in infrastructure to ensure quality teaching, learning and researching spaces, equipment and teaching resources, and conducive student living and learning environments. Over the period 2016 to 2017 and 2017 to 18, we will have injected major new investments for infrastructure development at universities, amounting to 6.964 billion rand. Why are you not clapping on this side? Of this, 2.1 billion will be for student housing development. 1.475 billion will go to universities to refurbish and update current infrastructure and to deal with backlog maintenance. 2 billion rand is for building Sol Plaatje University and the University of Mpumalanga. 600 million is earmarked for Sefako Makgatho Health Sciences University to enable its development as a new university. 248.9 million is for infrastructure projects at historically disadvantaged institutions, and 300 million is for priority projects to be identified by universities and which may include improving disability access, well-founded laboratories, security upgrades, or infrastructure and communication technology developments. The Department's Student Housing Infrastructure Program, SHIP, is a major priority for our department. The Ministerial Task Team on Student Housing report, which I received in 2010, highlighted major challenges in this area, including maintenance and the need to build approximately 200,000 new beds for universities alone. And we also need accommodation for TVET colleges as well. We are making steady progress in our joint work with the Department of Public Works to identify underutilized government buildings to be converted into student accommodation. Given the large shortages in this area, our universities and colleges, unfortunately, will still have to rely on privately owned student accommodation facilities. We have policy in this regard on how these should look like. I, however, intend undertaking research to establish ownership patterns in this sector in order to ensure that there is meaningful participation by all South Africans, especially Black African owners, and participation of youth and women, including cooperatives. However, government continues to fund publicly owned student housing across our universities. At the new Sefako Makgatho Health Sciences University in Ga-Rankuwa, we have, for instance, allocated 1.2 billion rands over the next 4 years for infrastructure development. Part of this funding will provide decent housing for the students. We have already started with the first 2,000 beds. From next year, students who are now bused daily to accommodation 50 kilometers away in the Pretoria CBD will be properly housed on campus. At the center of building an expanded, effective, and integrated post-school system is our skills development system. I have re-established SETAs from the 1st of April 2018 until 31st of March 2020, and also extended the National Skills Development Strategy for the same period. Whilst the re-establishment of the SETAs does not imply appointing the same individuals into their boards, this will allow the process of extensive consultation, legislative changes, and change management in anticipation of the new system to be ushered in on the 1st of April 2020, as the Deputy President indicated the other day in answering questions. Since the establishment of our department, I'm amazed the DA says I must shut this down. You know the amount of internal party training of the DA is funded by the ETDP SETA. Yes, bayisebenzisa bayidla. Ungabezwa betha siyivale nje, abayisebenzisi bayafa. Since the establishment of our department, many interventions have been made in the skills development system, aimed at improving efficiencies, including artisan training that our Deputy Minister will elaborate upon. On the National Skills Fund, we have continued to support key developmental projects while also funding other national priority projects, including the growth of the TVET sector. Some of the notable funding areas include 2.5 billion rands towards construction of new TVET college campuses, 2 billion rands committed to DHET projects over the MTF period aimed at building the capacity of the post-school system. We also support approximately 15,000 students per annum in scarce and critical skills through partnership with NSFAS and NRF. Unfortunately, the student who passed away at the university, at the Walter Sisulu University, Mr. Manjonjo, who was doing his final year in medicine, was one of the students who were benefiting from this money from the National Skills Fund. May his soul rest in peace. The Human Resources Development Strategy of South Africa 2010-2030 was approved by Cabinet in 2010. Since then, government has launched the National Development Plan and the Medium-Term Strategic Framework, which has necessitated that we develop a new strategy. I wish to take this opportunity to thank the Deputy President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, for his sterling leadership role of the Human Resources Development Council. In conclusion, allow me to thank all the staff of our institutions for their efforts. I'd like to thank employers that are opening up their workplaces for training. And I'm grateful to our Deputy Minister, Mduduzi Manana, the staff of the department led by our DG, Mr. Gwebs Konde, as well as my personal staff in the ministry. Finally, my sincere gratitude also goes to the President and my cabinet colleagues for their support. I would also like to thank my wife and family for continuous support they give me. Together, we will move South Africa forward through the provision of quality and affordable post-school education and training.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Amanda.
Thank you very much. This has been a very interactive presentation, Minister. As you're presenting, I could see your colleagues from your committee chatting with you and asking you questions, and you answering in the process. Very interesting. Honorable Chairperson, Connie September.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy President, Honorable Members of Parliament, all the visitors in the gallery, and the entire education fraternity that we have here today. As the ANC in support of Budget Vote 15, 2017 indeed is the centenary year of Comrade Oliver Tambo. He lifted the importance of education to new heights by strongly advocating for youth to further their education as an option as opposed to joining NK only. Comrade Tambo himself, a teacher, understood and was passionate about education because he understood that it causes heightened consciousness and is humanities are the biggest benefactor. It was also part of his conviction and belief that South Africa would be liberated and that the phase would require a well-educated cohort for governing a democratic state. Comrade Tambo decided to study science, as we heard earlier. As he saw an imbalance, he decided in the black professions, there were far too many BA candidates. Ideally, he wanted to study medicine, but at the time, no university would accept black students. 3 years later, Comrade Tambo graduated with a BSc degree in physics and maths. The following year, he enrolled for a diploma in higher education, but before his last year at Fort Hare was through, he was expelled for organizing a student protest on a point of principle. The rest is absolute history. Geachte voorsitter, die doelwitte wat ons gestel het, kan nie bereik word tensy alle mense deur middel van onderwys en opleiding bemagtig word vir aktiewe betrokkenheid as burgers. Dit is bevrediging dat ons nasionale ontwikkelingsplan, die mediumtermyn strategiese raamwerk, prioriteit vir die postskool onderwys en opleidingssektor, Suid-Afrikaners sluit in dat toegang tot onderwys en opleiding van die hoogste gehalte moet wees. Die onderwys, opleidings Innovasiestelsel moet voorsiening maak vir verskillende behoeftes en vervaardig hooggeskoolde individue. En gegradeerdes van die postskoolstelsel moet oor voldoende vaardigheid en kennis beskik om die huidige en toekomstige behoeftes van die ekonomie en samelewing te kan voorsien. Die owerheidsbegrotingstoewysing vir die PZ-sektor moet voortgaan om te fokus op die bereiking van die teikens soos vervat in die MTSF van 2014 tot 2019. The ANC honourable members is committed to the evolution of a coherent and nationally integrated strategy for the development of our country's human resources. The ANC believe that the state has the central responsibility for the provision of education and training, and more generally, given the importance of education for social and economic development, its provision cannot be left to the market as has been the case in the past, especially in relation to industrial training. The department's strat plan of 2015-16, 2019-20 table has been reviewed, and the review has revealed that the department has made significant progress in a number of areas, which include the prioritization of funding for the marginalized, thereby enabling them to access post-school institution and fulfill dreams of careers thought to be unrealizable. Geachte voorsitter, ons let op, minister, dat die departement uitdagings ervaar het om vakatures binne die gereguleerde tyd te vul, en dit vereis ernstige aandag sodat die departement voortdurend die nodige kapasiteit het. Die departement het 'n aansienlike basislyn verhoging in die befondsing van veral tekortkomende vir universiteite ontvang. Ten spyte van hierdie fiskale inspuiting bly daar ernstige diensleweringsvereistes wat nie aangespreek kan word vir sover die groeibehoeftes in die hele PZ-stelsel vereis word nie. Dit sluit in infrastruktuur, inskrywings van studente ondersteuning, akkommodasie, TIVET, grondslagprogramme en suksesvolheid onder andere. Die onvoldoende befondsing wat nie ander fiskale prioriteite inhou nie, is 'n risiko om die departement se grondwetlike mandaat voldoende te vervul, sowel as die NDP targets. In die parlement sal ons onderneem om dit veral te kyk en vir belangrikste afleweringsprogramme soos universiteitsonderwys, maar veral TIVET en gemeenskapsopvoeding en opleiding. Ons versoek dat die departement die wetgewing vasstel wat aangepas moet word vir die behoorlike funksionering van die PZ-stelsel en hersiening van die betaling van vaardigheidsheffings om die openbare sektor in mondelike betalingsvergelyking te bring. Honourable members, it is essential that problems be looked at in an inclusive way with a broad national vision, employing the talents and know-how of all with experience in the field. The ANC is committed to the evolution of a coherent and nationally integrated strategy for the development of our country's human resources. We therefore welcome the strategy on the national strategic development, the strategy that was dealt with not too long ago. We want to highlight, Honourable Minister and Honourable Members, that the country was in dire shortage of healthcare professions, in particular medical doctors, and a province such as Mpumalanga did not have an academic hospital. We have requested the departments explore the possibilities for expansion of medical schools, especially in universities, serving largely rural areas. It was noted that the curriculum offered by TIVET colleges is outdated and not relevant in industry needs. As the ANC, we believe that there should be a national core curriculum which reflects the norms and values of a non-racial, non-sexist and democratic society, and which is relevant to both needs of the individual as well as the social and economic needs of society. We would want a curriculum which is based on the principles of cooperation, critical thinking, and social responsibility, and which empowers individuals to participate in all aspects of society. We believe that this can best be achieved by a national curriculum which provides a general education based on integrating academic and vocational skills. We note as the ANC significant progress that has been made annually working towards achieving the MTSF targets. They include in the graduate numbers of engineering sciences, in human health and animal health, in natural and physical sciences, in initial teacher education, research, masters, amongst many others. Though the university program received an increase 2.5 billion, which was a 6.1% increase in nominal terms, the budget allocation is not sufficient. It is evident that this scenario will continue until other means of funds are identified. The ANC continues to support the provision of education and training that is linked to the development of human resources within a national development strategy aimed at the restructuring of the economy. The importance of the community education training sector in expansion of the PSET system was emphasized. The sector catering for out-of-school youth and adults with lower educational skills. However, the insufficient funding here too needs to be looked at. Die voorsiening van onderwys en opleiding moet steeds gekoppel word aan ontwikkeling van menslike hulpbronne binne 'n nasionale ontwikkelingsstrategie wat daarop gemik is om die ekonomie te herstruktureer, herverdeling en die demokratisering van die samelewing. So 'n strategie sal verseker dat alle ontwikkelingsprogramme op 'n sistematiese en gekoördineerde en omvattende wyse nagestreef word om dit kan verseker. The South African case study on recognition of prior learning has won a second prize internationally at the European Second Validation of Prior Learning Conference in April 27 in Denmark. This shows that we are the best in the world. We need, therefore, Honourable Minister, to massify the implementation of recognition of prior learning to ensure access in more post-school opportunities. Congratulations should be in order, Minister, in this achievement. We welcome the Education and Training Development Practices Sector Education and Training Authorities allocation to training component of the RPL to 8 TVET colleges across the country. We must also, honourable members, state that together with trade unions and employers and organs of civil society must play a central role. We therefore welcome the continued efforts of SAMMU, of SACTU through their numeracy and literacy program, and a continuation of the bursary fund that they offer to all their union members. We so too are excited about all the different programs of all the different projects from the different TVETs that continues together with the TVET colleges. Access to education and training should be made available throughout a person's life to enable him or her to keep pace with technological changes and continually develop his or her abilities to achieve secure employment and a rising standard of living. The ANC welcomes the rollout of this. It is our duty, honourable members, guided by our ideology, to contribute our efforts to make this liberated as rapid and deep going as possible.
Time is
I
up.
thank you. The ANC support this budget vote.
Honourable Pozzoli.
Madam Chair, here comes the cynic. In fact, higher education is stagnating. I mean, I don't wish to diminish the very real achievements of this department, but it now seems to have reached a certain limit. The ANC-run economy is a vast Ponzi scheme, and it's running out of money. The bottom feeders who rely on patronage for their well-being are getting anxious. More loot needs to be found to appease them. And so nuclear energy must take priority, even if it means bankrupting us all. For only through a huge scheme like this can enough swag be found to mollify those who depend on the politics of the belly. Other budget items of unquestionable social good are neglected if they can't be plundered. Higher education is one of these, and so as a sector, it is stagnating. We might be forgiven for thinking that things are going much better in higher education this year. Measured against our low standards for stability, only a handful of reports of rioting and protests have emerged in the past few months. Registration seems to have gone relatively smoothly, and 1.2 billion in additional funding has been pumped into NSFAS this year, with more to come. But all of this hides a darker reality. The fundamentals in this sector remain shaky, if not downright crumbling. Students are appeased for now, but deep structural weaknesses remain. The institutional weaknesses resulting from financial neglect will take decades to fix, and new money is needed for this. But instead of new money, the 5 billion current higher education boost has mainly been taken from within higher education itself via the skills levy, without any guarantees that the skills the levy was designed to produce would be forthcoming. Not only that, an increase in NSFAS funding does not represent a real change in income for universities and colleges themselves. Putting money into NSFAS assists students, of course, and this is a good thing. But most NSFAS funding does for universities and colleges themselves is to reduce what is owed to them by students. This is important, but it does not address the fundamentals. The real indicator of higher education financial health is the level of subsidy, and this is a disaster. University subsidies are far below what is required and will continue to increase at way below the required rate of 8 to 10% per annum, putting severe pressure on students, universities, and academic staff. This is the hidden truth of university funding. And on the college side, the 7.4 billion allocated to colleges, 54% of what they cost to run, is absolutely pitiful. As a result, the savings and investments of institutions have been reduced, and in some cases decimated, over the past 2 years, to pay for the extreme demands made upon them. Several universities are experiencing severe financial distress. Rescue funding might be needed. So serious are the challenges that the department has reduced its growth targets for the next 3 years. 1/3 of our university students, some 300,000 of 900,000, attend UNISA. But UNISA is now bursting at the seams and has had to reduce its numbers, slowing the department's growth ambitions for universities. So the universities are stagnating. This is nothing compared to the colleges. Planned growth for 2020 is down from 1.2 million to 700,000. 500,000 students will not be offered a college place as planned. Our TVET colleges are outdated, and students are not flocking to attend them. Built in another era, they flounder in the modern economy, and they struggle to find staff with the requisite experience or students with the requisite school subjects. So much for that fourth industrial revolution. So the colleges are stagnating. The CETAs, too, meant to provide us with another route to skills, control 13.6 billion. This should go a lot further than it does. Many of the CETAs remain shaky, rent-seeking institutions. The minister has abandoned all of his plans to restructure the sector until 2020, and nobody knows what will happen then. So the CETAs are stagnating. So in all 3 sectors of his department, the minister is managing a holding operation. Perhaps he's looking forward to 2019 when he retires after the ANC loses the election. So immense are the needs, both educational and financial, of this sector that I suspect the minister has given up trying to find ways of meeting them. And the ambitions of the post-school education white paper are being shelved. In fact, in a rapidly changing world, stagnation means decay. History rolls on and higher education stays still. The Commission of Inquiry, due to report soon, will have controversial findings, there's absolutely no doubt. Fee decisions are going to be made for 2018 soon, and underfunded universities and colleges will have to put fees up, and we all know what that means. Our society is already in a state of generalized anger and upheaval. The president is effectively hiding from his own people. Discontent in our universities and colleges will again spill over into damaging protests. And for this ongoing tragedy, we have the government to blame. But the nuclear deal remains the #1 priority. For the Bernie Madoff of South Africa, our chief Ponzi scheme owner, President Jacob Zuma, shame on him. The DA, by contrast, is committed to a flourishing higher education system, ensuring that our youth are provided with skills and knowledge to make a real contribution to a growing economy. Thank you.
Honorable Mbata.
Chairperson, Honorable Minister and your deputy, there is no amount of colors, green, black and gold, that can make us to support this budget. Actually, supporting this budget will be like supporting and promoting witchcraft. Because what you have done in your recent past as a minister is to surrender almost everything you came to know and everything you were founded on as a person. Minister, you were a researcher of the National Education Coordinating Committee based in the University of Natal. We fought with you side by side. We said our struggle will be that of a people's education for people's power. What happened to that? What we have now is your red tie. That's all we have. We need you back. The system misses the old blade. You need to go back to the drawing board. What went wrong? Nothing went wrong. You just did not take a political decision. Nobody said it was going to be easy to provide free education. Nobody ever said. But our generations demanded it because it was a generational struggle. It cannot be betrayed by an ANC out of convenience. You did the first deal, arms deal. You continue to do a nuclear deal. How about educating your own people? Free education is viable. It is there. But the tricks and the tenders, in fact, that fees commission is another tender. We will never support a tender. We need a political decision. There is no amount of inquiries, Minister, that are better than your bold self. Go back to your bold self. You knew what we wanted to achieve. You knew that our people during apartheid were deprived of education, in particular higher education, and then the land was stolen. Those were two basic principles. That's why we said it will be for people's power, so that we return them to their rightful dignity. Now, you are the only minister who have the association of the past education movement and the future. Yet, you are the most coward. You should remember what we were struggling for. You have not tried an inch. Now, some of you are leading regions of the ANC. You don't even understand the ANC. What we need is a system of education.
Order. Honorable Mbata, can you take your seat? What's the point of order, sir?
House Chair, is it parliamentary for Honorable Mbata to speak with his hands in his pockets?
Honorable Chief Whip, can you take your seat? Honorable Mbata, proceed.
Honorable Minister,
Order.
in
Proceed.
we have a university system that consistently displays the past. You rightfully said the staff across universities are growing old and they are growing more whiter. It takes us longer to present a new generation of mixed academics. It's 23 years, Minister. Your TVET college system, you first broke it and then you rebuilt it. Your cadre asthma crippled the college system. We were a supplier of teachers and nurses. Your cadre asthma destroyed all that. You come in, you rebuild it. Now, when you rebuild it, what do? You engineer a curriculum that will satisfy young people, draw them back to the system, but also associate the world of work with the world of education. And this is not happening. It's a waste of parents' money to go to TVET when after completing, there is so much cloud hanging over every site of TVET. It's a problem. But guess what? Who goes to TVET? It's majority black African female. Your white counterparts, our white counterparts, are not going into TVET. So the system again is breeding a new form of racism. At the end of it all, we will have more white professionals, more white artisans, less African, less female. Now, the SETA system, it's a criminal syndicate. The SETA system, it's a criminal syndicate. All the people you put in there are former union this and former union that. And most of them, actually, are there to steal. They are not there for the vision of the institution. Now, NSFAS, when we said we want people's education for people's power, we never had NSFAS in our mind. In fact, NSFAS in its previous name was created by the Nationalist Party. And the only thing you did, you connected the dots. You did not start something that is ANC.
Order, Honorable Mbata, your time is up.
Thank
Check
you.
on your left. It is Honorable Carter.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the crisis in our higher education sector is a consequence of years of funding neglect by government. Whilst the focus has been on trying to plaster over the festering student fees crisis, the real crisis, the severe underfunding of our universities over the past 2 decades, has been neglected. Consequently, fees will continue to have to increase. Apart from our universities, the department is also responsible for many other entities, many of which are underfunded. There are problems with the settling of a recently transferred TVET colleges, resolving the ongoing and despicable certification disaster. We can rightfully say questions have been asked and the department is not answering it. 2009 to 2011, students from FET colleges have still not got their certification. What is happening? Endeavouring to create community colleges, stopping the rot and rampant corruption in our SETAs, and revamping NSFAS. Our entire higher education system is unstable and is at risk. We know from budget projections that the financial resources to resolve a higher education funding crisis will, in all probability, never materialize. However, according to the Institute of Race Relations, higher education could be properly funded within existing budget constraints by cutting the bloated civil service. So, Minister, who comes first? Our bloated and an inefficient civil service, or our universities and impoverished and vulnerable youth, our students? I've been privileged to be at some of our country's universities during February 2017. A majority of students arrived on public transportation, hundreds of kilometers away from home. They found themselves in situations without any indication whether they will receive NSFAS funding or not. Many were forced into private student residencies due to accommodation shortages, expensive residencies that should be shut down as a health risk, but instead they are charging prime rates. 12 students in a 4-bedroom house and they have to pay 3,500 rand a month, no food, no nothing, no internet. You have students having to sleep on floors and worst even not knowing where their next plate of food is coming from. Is this how we treat the future professionals of our country, our leaders? I assisted a few students with purchasing textbooks and they did not have the resources to procure their textbooks. Why are we putting the burden on already overstretched families? Should universities not keep a stock of academic textbooks that can be borrowed and returned once the module is complete? Our higher education problem goes far beyond the fees. There are real social and post-university challenges which our youth and students face. Students have identified challenges and they have sent me some of their recommendations. Accommodation. Government must meet institutions halfway by providing them with unused buildings near institutions and renovate the old ones. Drug, alcohol abuse and peer pressure is a reality. Government should fund NGOs to educate students about the use and effects of substance abuse. Lack of development programs. Throughout our country, students graduate every year in our different respective institutions, and Minister, this comes from students. But they fail interviews or they can't cope when they get to the workplace because they are not developed. Government should create agencies that can encourage students to participate in developmental programs that will prepare them for the corporate world. compulsory internships and scholarships. Now, this is coming from students. LGBTs, lesbian, gay, bisexuals,
Honourable
are
Member, your
victimized.
time is
Can
up.
government implement policies to protect them and consider having temporary
Honourable
LGBT
Kubisa.
residencies? Thank you.
Thank you.
House Chairperson, thank you very much, honorable ministers, deputy ministers, and honorable members. This debate on higher education budget comes at a critical time in our democracy when our economy has been downgraded to junk status by some rating agencies. This is a huge challenge, Chairperson. I'm mentioning this because there is indeed a correlation between the economic level or status and the quality of education we give to the learners or students, be it basic or higher education. The National Freedom Party believes that education and quality of education, for that matter, is very crucial for social and economic development. Some reports say that about 36% of post-school graduates languish in unemployment. Yet, Chairperson, they've got degrees, diplomas, certificates, etc. There is no doubt that the production of scarce skills and the effective addressing of the NDP and what the 9-point plan hopes to achieve depends on the quality of our education from grade R to higher education. This talks to quality and caliber of the curriculum. The NFP believes that there is a need to massify, but there's a need also to ensure that there is quality. There is absolutely a need for a total paradigm shift. The school curricula, the university curricula should address work-related needs. University and TVET education must address the needs of the job market and also introduce our students to the rigors of business and entrepreneurship. Funding for TVET colleges must be increased in order to meet this need. The National Freedom Party welcomes the budget. We, however, voice our concerns with regard to the fact that there is still a backlog with regard to the issuing and the releasing of certificates. We're aware that the department has put at least 3 months by which they will be able to release certificates for students that have graduated, but it's unacceptable, as the minister said, that students do not receive their certificates on time. We stand firm on our call for free higher education, quality education. We know the efforts of the chair of NSFAS, his team and the department ensuring more of our students get funding. However, it is also concerning that sometimes funding comes very late, Chairperson, for those students who have qualified to get funding, very, very late. And as reported by the chair of NSFAS, there are also huge challenges with the student funding model as well. That's what he said to the portfolio committee. In his presentation, he cited some short-term and medium-term risk. We also welcome the fact that there is an increase in the number of those students that have been funded, almost 406,470 to date for TVET and university students. We do note that NSFAS, as of now, does not have exact date of funding. However, Chairperson, we're saying to you, this department must ensure that we produce more PhD students for our country. I've said earlier on, we support the budget.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Honourable Chairperson, the Minister of Higher Education and Training, Dr. Nzimande, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, members of the committee and all members of Parliament, DGs, senior official staff of the department, heads and executives of all our post-school entities and institutions, honored guests, comrades and friends. Honorable Chairperson, we rise to present the 2017-18 budget and program plans of the department during the year of Oliver Tambo, one of the greatest leaders of our country who never got to enjoy the fruits of his toil. This year, President Tambo would have celebrated a century of selfless struggle, a struggle waged by men and women of lofty thoughts and higher purpose, patriots who envisioned and dreamt of a better South Africa. There can be no doubt, honorable members, that as we continue to tell the history of our epoch-making breakthrough, which brought an end to conflict in our country and opened vistas for a people's republic, his name speaks volumes of our people's heroism and love for democracy and social progress. In tabling this budget vote, therefore, we are seeking to rectify a past that was wrong and inhumane, a past that President Tambo sacrificed his life to undo. It is no political rhetoric that we come from a painful and shameful past characterized by unequal distribution of resources and educational opportunities. There are no conditions under which the past can be glorified, for it has disadvantaged the career aspirations of many of our African people. Indeed, honorable members, we frown upon the apartheid system, for it wrongfully imposed restrictions on the choice of careers of our people. Our people could not freely and fully express their career aspirations, and as a consequence, most of them had no choice but to choose careers that deprived them the opportunity to participate more meaningfully in the economic activities of the country. The apartheid system did not acknowledge that choosing a career is a human rights matter, and President Tambo had this to say, as he too was deprived to pursue a career of his choice, and I quote, "I didn't really want to be a teacher, but there was nothing I could do. Most of those who went to university became teachers. It was just the racial restrictions of Africans," close quote. Honorable members, inherent in this quote is a picture of the status of the apartheid education and its restrictive nature. Upon acquiring freedom, we embarked on a process of rewriting history. We re-engineered our education system, and we have since put in place legislative frameworks to guide us on our new trajectory. Honorable Chairperson, these are the proceeds of democracy. The legislative and policy frameworks that we have introduced play a crucial role in redressing the past and landscaping the future that we desire. The white paper for post-school education and training, in particular, is our expression of the future we aspire for our system, and it instructs us to establish, amongst other things, career counseling as an integral component of the post-school education and training system. In October 2014, a fully fledged career development service was established in the department. Our considered view is that no child should enter an institution of higher learning without a clear career direction. To mitigate this challenge of unguided students, we have been rolling out career and youth expos across the breadth and length of the country, targeting rural and township areas in order to provide our young people with guidance, in order to guide our young people on which careers to consider if they are indeed to improve their employment prospects. These career expos, honorable members, will be rolled out to all 9 provinces during this financial year in our final push to disseminate information to our people on careers that are in high demand in South Africa so that they can make informed decisions and opt for study opportunities that lead to employment. Coupled with these targets, we have started rolling out the 2017 leg of the Apply Now campaign, where we're visiting rural and township schools across the country, disseminating information on the need for matriculants to apply on time to institutions of higher learning. Through this campaign, we have managed to reduce long queues in our institutions at the beginning of every academic year, and we're happy to report that there has not been a stampede at any of the university and college campuses since the unfortunate incident of February 2012, where we lost a mother of a student at the University of Johannesburg. Honorable Chairperson, 3 years ago, we launched and declared 2014 to 2024 as the decade of the artisan, with the sole aim of creating a pipeline of qualified artisans who can play a crucial role in growing the emerging sectors of our economy and in turn create massive employment for our youth. To this end, we remain steadfast in our work of elevating the status and profile of artisans in the country. Our conviction to see our TVET colleges become institutions of first choice remain unfazed, and our robust and frank engagement with employers to open up their workplaces for artisan learners to gain workplace exposure remain uninterrupted. In this connection, we have initiated a program of visiting employers at their workplaces, and I must admit that this exercise has truly given meaning to the pursuit of closer collaborations. And I want to thank the SETAs for their active involvement in this regard. Honorable Chairperson, to build further impetus on the work we are doing on the artisan front, this year we will once again participate in the WorldSkills International competitions to be held in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates in October. In the public gallery today, we have 26 young South Africans who will participate in the international competitions against other young people from over 72 countries competing in 22 artisanal skills areas. These young people were selected at our second WorldSkills South Africa national competition that took place in Durban in February this year. The competition's honorable members are another way of harnessing our energies towards building a strong artisan training system for our country, and they will certainly contribute in the overall economic growth of the country. Honorable Chairperson, the Higher Education Training AIDS program is continuing to implement comprehensive programs that respond to the impact of the dual epidemics, that is HIV, STIs, and TB in the higher education and training sector. Today, we report with a sigh of relief, confident that the measures we have put in place will result in better returns on investment and better student throughput rates. As we reported previously, this initiative is aimed at developing HIV prevention programs for students and staff, capacitating facilities to provide treatment care and support for students and staff living with HIV, and providing HIV/AIDS services to related communities through outreach projects and practical training programs. Honorable members, during this financial year, we will again extend services aimed at encouraging students to test for HIV and screen for TB, targeting in the main our rural and township university and college campuses. As I said last year, it will only take a healthy nation to breathe a healthy economy. And in this regard, we want to thank the Deputy President for his sterling leadership and guidance as Chairperson of the South African National AIDS Council, SANEC. Honorable Chairperson, we acknowledged that the 2016 nationwide student protest on issues of gender-based violence in South Africa was calling for action and leadership. In my input to the House last year, during the occasion of the 2016-17 budget vote, I made an undertaking that I will be paying closer attention to this matter, and I'm happy to report that AIDS is now implementing a program to mitigate this unprecedented problem. In this connection, I've already visited some universities and TVET colleges where we've had successful dialogues with students and staff on these matters. Further to this, a technical task team has been appointed to address issues of sexual and gender-based violence in the post-school sector with an aim of developing a policy framework that aims to provide practical guidelines for all universities and colleges on the prevention of gender-based violence at our institutions. And we say PANSI with sex for marks and the rape culture at our institutions. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, it is an undeniable truth that education is an equalizer, and it does help in the eradication of persistent and racialized poverty, unemployment, and extreme inequalities. It provides an opportunity where children from poor families can be in a position to change the socio-economic profile of their families. Indeed, the challenges are immense, but our conversations with our partners in education and the communities at large, both formal and informal, make us wiser each day, and they help us make informed decisions. Such conversations assist to focus our thinking in dealing with challenges and opportunities that present themselves in our sector. Honorable Chairperson, let me take this opportunity and thank the ANC, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Zuma, for the trust he has shown in me and the continuous support he gives us. To Dr. Nzimande, thank you for the guidance and teamwork that we continue to demonstrate. Indeed, our leadership success will be measured on how this department creates an environment for children from poor households, from farms, and those in township areas to imagine endless possibilities for a better life. Equally, we owe much of the successes and strides to the leadership, support, and constructive spirit demonstrated by the Portfolio Committee as led by Chairperson September. In the end, we are just politicians. The people whose actions help to transform our sector for the greater benefit of our nation are our civil servants at all levels. In particular, our senior managers as led by the Director General, Mr. Kwebenkudla Qonde, and other senior managers. We dearly appreciate your efforts. My family, friends, thank you for the love and the unflinching support that you continue to give me as I execute my work. Thank you very much. I join the Minister in presenting the 2017-18 Budget Vote 15 of the Department of Higher Education.
Thank you very much. The next speaker will be from the ANC, Honorable S. Mkhunu, to be followed by NC Macheke from the UDM, then FF Plus, Honorable A.D. Alberts. Please proceed.
Honorable Chairperson, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, honorable members and guests in the gallery, Sanbonani. The African National Congress supports the budget. For the ANC, education remains an apex priority and is one of the significant tools to eradicate poverty for a greater proportion of our people. Honorable Pozzoli, we must not forget that the ANC inherited a higher education sector that reflected inequities of the apartheid past. We do acknowledge that the budget allocated for the post-school education and training sector is not adequate. However, we cannot hold implementation of departmental programs at ransom because we want additional funding. Remember, there is a process underway of finding a long-term solution to the funding challenge. As the portfolio committee, we have engaged with the department on the costing of the implementation of the white paper for the PSET system and the review of funding framework for the universities and hoping for a positive result. We have recently held a workshop with DHET and noted that one of the contributors to financial difficulties in universities is increasing student debt. To address the challenge, the government made available 2.5 billion to cover historic debt for students underfunded by NSFAS due to top slicing practices and those qualifying but could not be funded. We hope that this debt will significantly decrease and the financial position of many universities will improve. We will also monitor assistance offered to universities identified as in financial distress. Let me hasten to commend the department and universities for significant achievements for 2014 to 2019 MTSF set targets. I will not dwell much on this one because the chairperson has spoken on it. I would like to emphasize on the master's and doctoral graduate numbers that have increased. This is critical because to improve research, innovation, and knowledge economy, future academics depend on a healthy pipeline of post-school graduates. By stating that universities were able to achieve these milestones with a financial constrained environment, within a financial constrained environment, I do not in any way imply that there should not be additional funding for universities. Ladies and gentlemen, our government is committed to increasing access to higher education through building of 2 new universities in Mpumalanga and the Northern Cape. The department has budgeted for the construction of new lecture rooms, laboratories, student accommodation, to mention but a few. We were very excited when members of the Select Committee on Education and Recreation reported about the best infrastructure and ICT that they have seen at these universities during their recent oversight. This shows that our government is committed to improving the lives of our citizens. The department has also reprioritized a portion of the existing infrastructure efficiency grant to fund the operations and infrastructure development of the medical school at the University of Limpopo. This move will increase the production of health professionals in rural areas of Limpopo. Through the NSFAS, our government has ensured that students from humble homes have access to and success in higher education institutions. Honorable Pozzoli, without NSFAS, many students, in particular blacks, wouldn't have access to higher education. You don't remember that fact because you were advantaged. The scheme has rolled out the new student-centered model for all universities and TVET colleges. This model will ensure that students apply once and that NSFAS will have a better relationship with students. Last year, the committee considered a higher education amendment bill and passed it. I would like to urge the minister to use the provisions of this Higher Education Act as amended to ensure sound governance and management
at universities where wrongdoings are identified. Minister, do not hesitate to invoke the provisions of Higher Education Act. In conclusion, Chairperson, education is a societal issue and affects us all. The government alone cannot solve all problems. Working together, we can do more. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Majeke, Honorable Majeke.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister for Higher Education, Honorable members, our guests at the gallery. The United Democratic Movement supports the budget vote number 15. We believe that there is more work to be done in the technical and vocational education and training sector. In this regard, we want to implore the department to make every effort to give the requisite attention to this sector of our skill and human capital development. The skilled workers that the TVET colleges are mandated to produce are critically lacking in our economy and society in general, as well as the quality that is produced from these TVET colleges. These include careers in engineering and electricity, tourism and hospitality, primary agriculture, health, information technology, and computer science. We appreciate the teacher training development strengthening, Honorable Minister, as you've just mentioned. We acknowledge the government support to the TVET through the National Skills Fund, which allocated more than 600 million in 2016, which was an increase from the previous year. We hope that government will pay more attention on, amongst others, the following challenges that continue to confront these TVET colleges. One, the challenge of poor quality of facilities, and even worse, the administration. The challenge has resulted to a shutdown of no less than 15 institutions in January 2017. The challenge of TVET students who graduate and have to wait for their certificates. The challenge of ensuring that the National Schools Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, is adequately funded to cover this sector.
Your time is up.
Chairperson.
No, it's not. Huh? Oh, 46, sorry. 46 seconds.
I thought Mr.
Sorry about that.
For that, Chairperson, an additional minute. The TVET colleges should be the answer to the country's twin problems of youth unemployment, which stands at more than 50%, and an artisan shortage, which has resulted in companies importing welders and carpenters from as far as China, Philippines, and other countries. There must be a relationship between financial investment to these colleges and their performance. In other words, these colleges can be used to simply keep, these colleges should not be used just to keep the youth from the street. We must make these centers of excellence. Finally, Chairperson, the litmus test, therefore, for the success of these colleges should be the extent to which they supply skills needed in the economy and improve young people's prospects of finding decent jobs. I thank you.
No, thank you very much. Sorry for that. But we'll proceed and have the next speaker, FF Plus from FF Plus, A.D. Alberts, who will be followed by MF Ngadi Main, and then the next person will be Professor C. Tim Simang.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, as you would know by now, false promises are dangerous. We have witnessed how easily fees must fall, transformed into blade must fall, and the ANC must fall. You need to be careful about the commitments you make to students in this country, and generally the commitments government makes to South Africans. If you cannot deliver, do not make promises, as they will come back to haunt you, unfortunately. We have noted the Minister's concerns about the direction this country is going, and that replacing President Mbeki with President Zuma did not address the fundamental problems this country is facing. We agree with the Minister in this regard, but we should take it even further and advise that the self-reflection and intervention needed to halt and reverse the death spiral of this country, including higher education, will require an impossible re-engineering feat of the ANC itself. For deeply ingrained in the ANC alliance's DNA is the Soviet-inspired National Democratic Revolution, another revolution that has now turned on its owner as service delivery implodes and education promises evaporate. Yes, you have a problem, a people problem, but it's because you have a thinking problem. The inner ethos of the ANC alliance requires centralization and micromanagement of all spheres of life, including higher education, the suppression of diversity, and the implementation of democratic representativity, while in reality it lacks the ability to even arrange a fight in a bar. Die anti-alliansie se denke en revolusie is ver verwyder van die realiteit van ons land. Daarom word universiteite en tersiêre instellings toegelaat om veeltaligheid uit te faseer en diversiteit te ondermyn, terwyl dit presies is wat die land van die regering vra. Hoe moeilik is dit om veeltaligheid in elke hoër onderriginstelling te verwesenlik? Ons het dan vertalingsdienste in hierdie einste parlement. Ons het die tegnologie en die kundige mense, maar die werklike probleem is dat die politieke wil eintlik ontbreek. Minister, as far as the provision of free education is concerned, the great irony is that if the ANC alliance was a better custodian of our economy since 1994 and suppressed the impulse to intervene and micromanage at every turn, Treasury could have already afforded a broader scheme of study assistance some time ago. But it could not happen, for the essence of the problem that you are facing is nested in your thinking that a national democratic revolution can develop this country. But human-made revolutions only destroy, they never build. We see this in the slipping of our global university rankings, amongst others. Die enigste wyse dus waarop die ANC-alliansie sy gebreke kan herstel, is om sy denke te verander. Daarvoor is selfinsig nodig en erkenning dat hy 'n probleem het. Hierdie proses kan die ANC-alliansie van homself bevry en alle sektore van die samelewing wel op 'n groeipad plaas, insluitende hoër onderwys. Of die hoop sal beskaam, sal net julle weet, en of julle sal oorleef, sal ons wel in 2019 sien. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We then move over to Honorable M.F. Ngadime.
Modulasetulo wa Seboka sa ntlo e, letona la tša thuto e phagamileng, Dr. Nzimande, matona ka moka le batlatši ba gona, maloko a ntlo ye le baeng ba rena, ke a le dumediša. Ntlha e tšwelela ka thuto yeo e re sepetšang bošego, gomme re leboga bose le dikholetšheng tša rena. Mmušo o etileng pele ke ANC o kodumetše, gomme o epa thutsi yeo lehumo la yona le sa humaneng kgauswi. The ANC support the budget. Education continues to be the #1 priority for the ANC. The focus has been on reversing the systematic impact of apartheid education and taking education to the greater heights. For this to happen, the ANC had put in place a comprehensive and integrated education and training system. Let me remind this august House that our country has set itself goals through the National Development Plan to eradicate poverty, reducing inequality, and growing the economy by the average of 5.4%, as well as cutting the unemployment rate to 6% by 2030. The NDP articulates that training and innovation are critical to the attainment of these goals. Our TVET sector is well placed to ensure that our country produces adequate numbers of mid-level technical and artisanal skills to grow the skills base to support inclusive growth path. As a country, we set a target to produce 30,000 artisans per annum by 2030. We will only be able to achieve this target if we increase enrollment in the TVET college in engineering-related programs like built and civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical, boiler making, fitting and turning, plumbing, carpentry, welding, to mention but a few. Let me assure this House that the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education has engaged the department and the Quality Council Umalusi and the Quality Council for Trade and Occupations on the review of the NCV and Report 191 curriculum because of the fact that some programs are outdated and not aligned to industry needs. The department has made an undertaking and also assured the committee that work is at advanced stage to review the curriculum. The committee will follow up on this matter. Let me commend the effort at the Tabazimbi campus of the Waterberg TVET College in Limpopo. While in Nkandla A and Bambanani sites, there are skills training programs taking place. Honorable Chair, the department set a target to have 45,000 students placed in the workplaces. Let me commend the joint effort of the sitters with employers to place 118,582 in the 2015-16 financial year. The Education, Training and Development Practices Sector, Education and Training Authority allocated 7.2 million for training component of the RPL at 8 TVET colleges across the country. The Health and the Welfare sector awarded bursaries to 764 beneficiaries, 2,770 internship, and support 4,266 learnership. 806 learners were funded to undertake vocational courses in TVET colleges. The Free State government partnered with the Flavius Market TVET College. Thank you, Chairperson. Education is the societal issue, and I urge all members of society to be involved in finding a lasting solution to these challenges.
Honorable Msimang.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister Nzimande, other ministers, honorable members. Quality higher education is key to any developing and industrialized state. Even more essential, however, is the technical and vocational education, because it is this sector which produces highly skilled workforce, which is a driver of economic growth. It is unfortunate that this basic fact did not dawn on the minds of the South African government until 2015, more than 20 years into democracy. Only in 2014 was a white paper on higher education and training released with a focus on production of post-school graduates, which would have adequate skills to meet the current and future needs of the developing economy and society. Based on these objectives of the white paper, the Department of Higher Education and Training took over the FET colleges from the jurisdiction of basic education and converted them into technical and vocational education and training colleges, known as TVET colleges. To bolster this turning point, two very significant resolutions were taken. Firstly, to set aside 10 universities to offer TVET lecturing qualifications by 2019 so as to support the quality of lecturing. Secondly, the building of new TVET campuses and student accommodation was given priority. This was to help South Africa realize the proposal in the National Development Plan, which stipulated that the number of technicians and artisans enrolled every year should increase from 670,000 in 2013 to 1,238 million in 2019. The IFP complemented the department believing that it was leading the education sector in the right trajectory, but this was only in 2015 to 16. After only a single year of the apparent commitment to growing and expanding this sector, the government has made a right about turn. In the 2017 to 18 budget that is considered today, the budget of this sector has been drastically cut with dire consequences for learners in this sector. For instance, the available funding covers 62% of all students and 38% are not funded. The building of more campuses and the relevant infrastructure is put on hold. There are very few TVET colleges that have qualified lecturers with adequate teaching and technical skills, and this is affecting the put-through of the remaining colleges very negatively. This is simply not commensurate with the NDP targets. In fact, it leads one to the conclusion that the government is not wholly committed to this sector, which is probably why it received attention only in 2015. In this presentation, I focused only on the situation in the TVET college sector. However, this does not imply that there are no discrepancies in other sectors of the higher education system. I only concentrated on the TVET colleges because of its significance in producing
Time is up.
the workforce that aligns to the needs of the labor markets. The IFP supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Next will be Honorable Sid Dudley from the ACDP, followed by Honorable AP van der Westhuizen from DA, and then Honorable E.K. Siwela from the ANC. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. The ACDP will support this budget, which has to a large degree received priority attention, but we agree with educationalists that before Treasury and Parliament decide the fate of higher education and tertiary institutions through the budget decisions that we make, a national summit is needed for South Africans to decide their priorities for themselves. And if they agree to commit to achieving free quality education, it will require sacrifice. In the words of Professor Adam Habib, Wits Vice-Chancellor, if, for instance, we have to find 50 billion rand for freeing higher education, the question is, why are we putting it in higher education? Why are we not putting it in early childhood development or the national health system? Society as a whole needs to say, we are prepared to do this. We're going to focus on recreating our economy. We need skills. Very importantly, they must say, we are prepared to sacrifice. It must be everyone's choice, but the reality is that the drivers of the Fees Must Fall campaign are deeply political, and it could well be that no solution will be enough to satisfy the various political agendas that will stop at nothing en route to their collective and individual goals. But the increased taxes implemented by ex-Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan will be just the tip of the iceberg for all productive members of South African society if the dominant opinion continues to be that every demand must be met, and that the greater the violence, the greater the chance that those demands will take precedence over all else. We are all in this together, of course, and there's no doubt that the Fees Must Fall campaign has had an impact, but unless we put the country first and reject destructive calls to action, and I'm talking to the opposition parties here as much as anyone else, we are going to stand guilty of depriving present and future generations of the opportunity to become part of a thriving economy and progressive nation. Thank God wisdom prevailed during the struggle when the call was made for no education before liberation, and it was rejected in favor of education for liberation. The ACDP supports free education for the poor, yet in the pursuit of it, we do not condone the destruction of property and violence. Spending on post-school education over the next 3 years for universities and student funding is the fastest growing part of the budget. It is encouraging, however, to observe the way business professionals have teamed up to build the new student financial aid program aimed at addressing the flaws of NSFAS, the NSFAS model. And everyone carries their own costs, and this includes lawyers, actuaries, bankers, and accountants. Government contributed 1.9 million, that's 83% of the 2.3 billion cost, to implement the 0% fee increase. And the other 17% came from just 12 universities.
Your time
And
is
my
up.
time is up. I almost got there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable van der Westhuizen.
Chairperson, honourable members, we all shared a dream in the 1990s, and some of the previous speakers referred to that. In this dream, poor South Africans would be able to break the shackles of poverty and unleash their potential through a well-functioning education and training system. The transformation of technical colleges to TVET colleges and the introduction of the National Certificate Vocational as an alternative to the school's senior certificate were in support of that great dream. Yet instead of growing the number of college students, we saw a 32% decline from 2015 to 2016 in the entrance for the National Certificate of Vocational, also known as NCV Level 4. 60% of our TVET colleges are dysfunctional with a pass rate of less than 40%. Less than 5% of the initial intake passed level 4 in the prescribed time. This should come as no surprise. Honourable Bazoli referred to the fact that the department is only providing 54% of the operating budgets that TVET colleges are entitled to. Most of the equipment needed for training is completely outdated. While young people in Pakistan are taught to fix cell phones, our curricula still refer to telegrams. Thousands of departmental examination papers arrive late, after the scheduled date for the examinations. National examination results are delayed and not released on the due dates. Students therefore do not know whether they should study for the supplementary examinations or whether they've passed. And the issuing of certificates was delayed for years, as you referred to. Yet, listening to you, Minister, it is clear that you are oblivious of just how serious the situation is. DA-run governments are, in contrast to this, recognized for getting things done. A DA-run Department of Higher Education makes sure that our TVET colleges receive the necessary support. We would align the pass requirements and level of the NCV with that of the National Senior Certificate. Pass and throughput rates would form part of the performance assessment of college principals' work. The outdated NATED or N programs curricula would be thoroughly overhauled, and we would undertake a critical assessment of the costs and practicability of the trimester system. College councils would be given freedom to develop their own organograms within approved staff budgets in order to attract lecturers with the necessary qualifications and to provide for local challenges. The TVET colleges would be assisted to improve their image with prospective employers, while employers would be incentivized to partner with public colleges for workplace-based training. Chairperson, as you can see, there is much to do. Fortunately, the dream of South Africa as a learning nation is still alive and well in the DA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As Honorable Siwela moves to the podium, he'll be followed by Honorable L.M. Chaisa from the AIC, then Honorable J.D. Killian from the ANC, and then lastly, Honorable Pukwa from the DA.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members and guests, good afternoon. The ANC supports the budget. Honorable Chairperson, due to the disparities caused by the apartheid regime, the ANC democratic government was left with a very immense task of creating an equal society, a society where all South Africans have access to all that which the country has to offer, It is an undisputed fact that the apartheid education and training system was characterized by a lack of access or unequal access to education and training. The ANC noted that the principle of increased access to higher education is a core transformational goal. This recognition is given impetus in Section 29 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, which states that everyone has the right to further education. And the state should, through reasonable measures, must make education progressively available and accessible to all. The choice to use NSFAS, Honorable Mbata, is a political decision. The ANC policy has always placed the marginalized, poor, and working class at its epicenter. It has always believed that education and training is a basic human right and that all individuals should have access to lifelong education and training, irrespective of their background. The ANC also believes that access to universities and TVET colleges is not simply a mechanical process of applying and getting accepted or not. It is all about equipping our students with valuable skills that will enable them to contribute in building a capable developmental state. The ANC has committed to redressing the inequalities of the past by ensuring that institutional and financial mechanisms are available for those students who wish to further their studies but don't have the financial means to do so. Will have access to financial assistance in the form of bursaries and student loans, etc. The education, training, and innovation system should cater for the different needs and produce highly skilled individuals who are able to meet the current and future needs of the economy. The higher education and training budget of 2017-18 speaks directly to accessibility of universities, TVET colleges, and the establishment of education and training colleges. The National Financial Aid Scheme, which provides poor students with funding to access universities education, has been allocating 13.9 billion over the MTSF. It has seen an increase of 6.9% from 11.4 billion. And further, an amount of 7.7 billion has been allocated over the medium term to support university students who were underfunded in 2016. And as such, as the minister has indicated, to date, NSFAS has supported more than 2 million students. This is quite commendable. With TVET colleges, the budget responds not only to access, but also to the performance of this institution. The National Skills Fund has committed 2.5 billion over the MTSF to building new TVET college campuses, thus increasing student enrollment. The establishment of community college and training, as expressed in the 2013 white paper, opens new doors for those who did not compete or have never attended school. We believe that if used effectively, these colleges will unleash and breathe new air in the lives of many disadvantaged people. As I conclude, Chairperson, the ANC government has proved its commitment to expanding access in higher education by building 3 new universities in Mpumalanga and Northern Cape, as well as establishing a medical school in the University of Limpopo. The construction of TVET colleges is also underway. Like it or not, Mr. Albert, the ANC will never fall. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to Honorable L.M. Jaisa.
Honorable Chairperson, Ministers, honorable members, thank you very much. Education is one matter that should be taken seriously by all. It needs us to come together and always keep together and work together for the purpose of achieving progress and success.
It is through education that this nation or country will be developed. It is now time to correct the wrongs of the past, not to cry and complain always, all the time. Honorable Chairperson, let me appreciate the report and the budget number 15 of the Department of Higher Education and Training. It is a fact that this department is underfunded, which is a great challenge indeed. Another challenge that has been observed by the committee is that the filling of vacancies is always a problem. But to say at least now, those vacancies that are funded should be filled with speed. It is at least comforting to realize that the department aims to produce about 30 artisans per annum by the year 2030. Of course, we should not only produce academics, but other spheres of job. The quality of teaching and learning in TVET colleges should be improved so as to make our children very much interested, and the curriculum should also be relevant so that it contributes to the growth of the economy of the country. Honorable Chairperson, I was very much interested now to hear that at least some of the agri colleges will be established, as we also expecting that an agri college now will be established in Matatiele. For instance, in Matatiele, we have got the structures already. So what we need is human resources and other logistics. That department aims to make use of underutilized factories and vacated schools as a result of rationalization should be appreciated. These will be used as community learning centers. We do appreciate the increase in NSFAS budget, and these funds should be thoroughly monitored by the department. Chairperson. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nchaisa. Matatiele is a very important location in South Africa. Honorable Killian.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, other members of Cabinet, colleagues, and guests in the gallery, also the DG and the departmental staff. The ANC supports Budget Vote 15, notwithstanding the fact that we are as concerned about the serious underfunding of the post-school sector as a whole, as members of the opposition parties. But unlike opposition parties that prefer to criticize and fuel the fires of discontent on campuses and in communities, and opportunistically turn budget constraints into a political tool, the ANC understands that a careful balance should be achieved. On the one side, we should be realistic about the income side and not burden future generations with debt accumulation. Fact is, Chairperson, it is the ANC that championed access to education through its Freedom Charter, adopted at Kliptown in 1955. Under the heading, "The doors of teaching and learning shall be opened," the Freedom Charter states in relation to primary and secondary education, and I quote, "Education shall be free, compulsory, universal, and equal for all children," unquote. In relation to the post-school sector, Honorable Mbata, the Freedom Charter states, "Higher education and technical training shall be opened to all by means of state allowances and scholarships awarded on the basis of merit." The same distinction between the right to basic and the right to further education is enshrined in Section 29 of the Constitution. And that is just what the ANC government has implemented since 1994. As the Honorable Blade Nzimande has said, 72 billion has already been invested in students through the NSFAS. Notwithstanding budgetary constraints, government demonstrated its commitment to social expenditure to eradicate apartheid backlogs and to break the cycle of poverty. We need to do more, but fiscal limitations are making it difficult to move faster. We have tough economic times, which demand sober minds and responsible leadership from this House. Some MPs are either or deliberately ignores the history of this country. Maybe they are too young, or else they suffer from selective memory loss. 25 years ago, when CODESA 2 collapsed and the SACP leader Chris Hani was murdered, Honorable Alberts, this country was on a knife edge, on the brink of full-scale civil war. It took courageous leadership, visionary leadership to put us back on track, to develop a social compact for the country. That wisdom came from leaders across the political spectrum, except, of course, the AWB radicals who rammed into the CODESA 2 venue, and we don't know where they are today, possibly in the DA.
Honorable Killian, can you take your seat? Order, Honorable Member, what is your point of order?
I just want to ask if the member will be willing to take a question.
Honorable Killian, would you like to take a question?
Not in this budget debate. Thank you,
Can you
Chair.
please take a seat, Honorable Member? Proceed, Honorable Killian.
But we today again saw a display of the DA's schizophrenic political character. Honorable Bazoli whining about inadequate government subsidies for universities and painting, and Honorable Van der Westhuizen painting a picture of doom and gloom for the college sector. However, when it came to the introduction of a 45% super tax on earnings above 1.5 million per year, the DA immediately objected and voted against the Taxation Laws Amendment Bill. So where should the money come from if we don't up the taxes? We should stop the blame game and find solutions for the huge challenges confronting the post-school sector. When the NDP was tabled, there was broad consensus across all political parties. And the NDP recognizes that South Africa needs high-quality education and training to build a skilled and capable workforce. But poor economic growth is currently placing our targets in the NDP at risk. We have the right vision, the right plan, the NDP, the right policies to drive the sector to perform. But we don't only have fiscal constraints.
Order.
Let us face it.
Honorable Member, your time is up.
In conclusion, Honorable Chair,
Honorable Bukwa.
President Mandela stated,
Order. Honorable Member, your time is up.
We do face major challenges, but
Order.
None as daunting as those we have already surmounted.
Honorable Bukwa.
Chairperson, I'm not certain whether I am disturbed by the ANC's lack of interest to educate its nation, or rather they lack in morality and the intellectual bankruptcy. And so, Chairperson, while sitting and listening to the debate, can you please protect me, Chairperson? Chair, while listening to the debate attentively, I was reminded of the words of our former President Nelson Mandela, who argues that overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is a protection of fundamental human rights, particularly the right to dignity and a decent life. Poverty is not natural. It is man-made. It can thus be overcome and eradicated by man-made actions. As such, honorable members, when we make attempts to reverse the legacy of the past as governments and as servants of the people, it is not a favor to anyone. It must happen and should happen. This is a joint responsibility that we share as South Africans. Our primary mandate as public representatives is to advocate for the people of South Africa, and this finds expression in the laws and budgets that we pass. You see, we find ourselves during a critical time in history, a time that requires the government to remain true to its promises and the realization of the rights enshrined in the Constitution, particularly the right to education. Yet the Department of Higher Education and Training has underfunded students and institutions of higher learning in relation to the constraints that they face. The increased midterm budget of 5 billion is unlikely to make a dramatic impact on access to education in this whilst pursuing a post-qualification. In a fair society, students would have an equal opportunity to succeed. By the way, in a fair society, each and every student who signed a loan agreement would have a meal and not to have to sleep in a computer lab. In an opportunity society, success would be based on the hard work and talent of an individual rather than one's circumstances of birth. In a fair society, the ANC would not govern.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable T. Kekana.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, and
order.
Starting with Mbata, who said that the educational road that the ANC is embarking on is easy. Look at African Mbata. People who got independence before us, and people like DA, colonial regime is to blame. No, I know it is unpalatable because you caused the fundamental problem. The Freedom Fund keep on saying the fundamental problem is the thinking of the ANC. No, those who ruled before us are the fundamental problem. And no apology about it. You messed Africa, you messed South Africa, you caused corruption. I mean, apartheid was corruption. What was apartheid? Where you deprive other people the legal right to own mines, to own industry, to own banks, where you also deprive people to be engineers simply because they are black, because you want to safeguard your position of privileges. What is that but corruption? It is corruption in its worst fashion. Corruption that has ever been experienced on this planet. And today you come, you know there's this thing that says, when you point a finger, the other 3 fingers, 3, not just 1, are pointing at you. You have caused corruption in Africa. Africa is still suffering today because you took mineral resources, you took the riches of Africa, you deprive Africans for education, and today you want to exonerate yourself. You want to jump aside and say, no, we don't know what's happening. It is your thinking. But you were saying we can't think for ourselves. You must think for us. So I'm just saying that the ANC inherited under-education. The ANC inherited a system of under-skilling. The education inherited an under-prepared nation for the requisite of the economy and job creation and growth of the economy. This is what we're trying to reverse today. The national skills revolution. I'm not here as your teacher. You must go and employ a teacher. I'm saying that the skills revolution that the policy of the ANC advocates for, you don't have to see it because you messed up in the past. The national skills revolution
Point of order, Chair.
that the ANC advocates
Order.
for want to see,
Order.
On a point of
want
order.
to see.
On a
Who's
point of-
raising a point of order?
That's me, Honorable.
Yes, Honorable Tobias.
Honorable Chair, a member of the DA is asking our member who is blind when is he going to see the document. I don't think it's parliamentary forum.
Do you know
He said,
who's the member
when
who
are you
said
going
it?
to see it? And he's referring to a blind.
Order.
man.
Honorable Tobias, do you know which member of the DA
No,
said?
I just heard his voice around there. He said, when are you going to see it?
Honorable Member
No,
Tobias,
that's
can you
fine.
please take your seat?
That's fine, let's continue.
Order.
And
Order, Honorable Tobias, can you please take your seat? We will look at the Hansard and then revert back. Continue, Honorable Kekana.
The skills revolution that the ANC advocates for wishes to have every workplace in South Africa. And I wish DA can go and talk to the industrialists because you represent them. Every place, every workplace in South Africa to being, every workplace in South Africa, every workplace. No, I'll repeat until you give me a chance. Every workplace in South Africa will be turned into a training workplace for the students at the TVET colleges to gain experience and hands-on practice. This is important because one of the failures of the operation of TVET colleges is that they are not, this is what they told us when we went on an oversight. They say they are not given the opportunity to have real experience, on-the-job experience. They are only giving theory, but industry is not opening. Some of industry, a lot of it actually is not opening. A lot of industry opening for opportunities for our students to train on the factory floor. So the skills revolution is calling for a partnership, an integrated partnership between government and industry that will be facilitated by CETAs so that students from TVET colleges, because artisans are by nature the type of training that needs a lot of practicals, that needs a lot of, it is like apprenticeship during Industrial Revolution. I heard somebody from Freedom Fund saying, you can't have a revolution made by men. But the Industrial Revolution was made by men. Is that those men allowed their children to gain experience at the factory floor. In South Africa, the TVET college, one of the factors why the TVET college is not really succeeding is because they are not given the opportunity for real practical experience at factory floor. There's still a lot of marginalization because we know who owns the economy and the industry of this country. I know you'll jump because it's painful. It's not good news. No, before Gupta's, there was somebody else.
Order, Honorable Member, your time is up. Honorable Member, your time is up.
I wish to support the budget and wish it all the success.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
Order.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Ngicela ukuqala ngibonge embuthweni wami Khongolose. Na wonke amaqembu asupporti kanje. Njenge NFP, ngizwe ngathi no Honorable Untshayisa naye ubekhuluma ngathi uyasixhasa. Kwaze kwavuka nolimo oludala engamgcina ukuzwa elikhuluma sasebenza nobaba uHarry Gwala. Khona ukuhlale kuvuke ngathi ungagcina nje kukanjalo. Lunge lihloniphekile. Saze sasupportwa ngisho saxhaswa na inkathi imbala. Siyakubonga lokho Honorable Mkhuleko nino ubaba uThabiso. On UDM alisekho ilungile UDM bengithi ngizothi kulona engathi ungafundisa nomholi wakho uGeneral ukuthi akhulume kamnandi njengawe nje. Honorable Pozoli, higher education is stagnating. Really? Are you serious? Or is it the DA's thinking that is stagnating? And the reason for that is that, unfortunately, the DA, all it does is to oppose and doesn't make a contribution. I have not heard what you have been saying about what is it that needs to be done. Honorable Mbat, uyabona ke Shantu. Into engifuna ukuyisho sihlalo chacha. Kunenguquko eziningi kabi ezenzekayo ngokwebala labefundisi basemanyuvesi. Uyabona nje ngo 2009 there was 65% black African academics and 21% white. 2015 71% black African and 16% white. The fact that we still have challenges, we must not distort things. And claim that things are going back when in fact they are not. The DA can help us, by the way. Part of the people who are resisting transformation of the cities are sections of business.
Order, Honorable Member. Can I ask the translators to please do what they have to do? Other members have not been able to pick up when the minister was using another language. Thank you.
Professor Kubis, siyabonga ukukhulumisa okwesifundiswa ngempela namhlanje. Siyakujabulela lokho. Kodwa ke ngifuna ukucorrecta nje ukuthi unemployment ama-university graduates mangabe ngibuzwe kahle is not at 36%. It's actually not more than 5%. University students, yes. Ubeqinisile kanti uyilunga elihloniphekile udeni uma nithambani nofunda. EFF buyelana esikoleni ukuze nikwazi ukuthi ni-understand lento. Siyabonga. Ngicela ukuthatha leli thuba ngibongele uDeputy Minister wethu obethola iziqu ze-honors kwi-international politics. Wena shande zakho uyothola nini?
Order, Honorable Member. What is the point of order?
Chair, I just want to check because the translation I couldn't get perfectly because it's not on. The minister is actually saying that the EFF must go to school. In fact, majority of us, in fact, all of us have gone to school, and you know, majority of us have graduated at the Fifth School of Governance.
Honorable Member.
So we are perfectly educated to
Honorable
hold you
Member, can you
accountable,
take your
Minister.
seat? Thank you. Can you proceed, Minister?
Congratulations. Honorable Alberts, we mustn't make us to apologize for our relationship with the Soviet Union. We would not have reached our freedom without the selfless support from the Union of Socialist Republics, the USSR. So we are not going to make us to be apologetic about that. Mama Nkati Meng siyavumelana nawe namanye amalungu ukuthi the issue of curriculum transformation in TVET colleges is one of our priorities. We actually have to improve that. We have not lost our passion and dream of lifelong learning. That is why we are creating a post-school system. The fact that we have got challenges, we must not then behave as if nothing is being done. We have challenges, we admit them, but we are doing something about those. And you going around discrediting us on all those things that we are doing, which we are doing right. Oh, cishe ngakhohlwa baba uNtshayisa ilungu elihloniphekile. Ngamhlazane sathola imali nje ethe xaxa kancane. Hayi noma kanjani solakho ikolisha ematatiyela ngani zakwethu. Mina ke ngikhuliswa abantu basematatiyela kaDambuza ngibathanda kabi. Siyabonga kakhulu mphathi sihlalo kanye namalungu ahloniphekile nanonke enikwazi ukuthi nibambe iqhaza kule nkulumo mpikiswano. Siyabonga.
Siyabonga Mhlonishwa. That concludes the debate and business of this mini plenary session. Thank you.